Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Portal Reloaded, which is a community-made mod for Portal 2, which you wouldn't be blamed if you thought it was a community-made mod for Portal 1, considering it does just have Portal 1, Portal in the name, and certainly, unless you're really familiar with both Portal 1 and Portal 2, seeing the dilapidated state of the lab on the menu here doesn't scream Portal 2 if you're not familiar with the story of Portal 2, or at least familiar with what is in Portal 1. Normally, I wouldn't cover community-made mods, even if they were really, really good. Maybe if they were on sale, I might consider them. But I'm kind of making a special exception for Portal because it's one of my favorite game series. And because we're never going to see a Portal 3, more than likely. So this is going to be yet another bit, another bite at the apple, I suppose is the phrase you'd use, to enjoy a game in a different way. It definitely feels like a community-made mod because when I first launched this game, every setting was wrong. Like, music and game audio was too low. Subtitles being off by default's not crazy, but the video settings were completely wrong. 4:3 resolution at the lowest resolution, didn't detect a single thing, was in full screen mode. None of the advanced settings were anywhere close to what I think they should be, although maybe I'm going to push my computer a little hard with all of these settings, but probably not. If anything, I should probably get rid of the triple buffering vertical sync, but we'll just leave everything as high as possible. But then what's really messed up here is that while I'm playing with the controller, hitting the apply button is kind of impossible with the controller, because if you hit A, as it says, on some instances it will not save but instead go forward. So I was able to hit A in the advanced menu, but then I'd get to this point and anywhere you hit A would just change something. And so the apply prompt is just wrong. More than likely this game was designed by people playing the game on keyboard and mouse. At the lowest resolution, at 4:3 ratio, this game looked awful. And it didn't even crop and canvas correctly. So it just went POR. The TAL was cropped off. So, yeah, this is by far the roughest start I've ever had with a game in a very long time. And certainly I've played games that you have to straight up run an emulator around them using like the ScumVM emulator software, and it's easier to launch those and have the settings defaulted. Overall, the music still sounds a little quiet, but we'll see if that matters or not. I could go outside of the app and adjust the audio, because it was like way down to a quarter when it started. We could go up to this point, and then the game volume bump sound is probably not the best one to keep. Notice there was no A to apply on that menu. Alright, let's hop in. There's no telling how long this really will be, but it feels like it could be very much in line with a Portal 1 experience, probably not as long as a Portal 2 experience. We see some spoilers there in the names, but like the trick that there was time travel in this game and that they were going to add that as an element is fairly obvious even on the Steam page. And adding time travel as a new element to Portal, not a terrible thought really, because otherwise you are going to have to go in just whole new directions like Portal 2 did with the the blue bouncy gel and the acceleration orange gel and the white moon dust gel that lets you place portals on it. Ironically, they probably painted themselves in somewhat of a corner, saying that only the white moon dust gel paint was the place where portals could be placed, and it wasn't just that flat, clean surfaces had to be your choice for portals, like it was implied in the first game. But let's start. It'll be interesting to see if there's any voice acting here. Probably will be some, but maybe not a lot. And interesting to see if we play as Chell or a different character, and what point this is supposed to actually take place. This is the second Portal mod I've played, and probably the only other one that I will want to play for a while. The other one that I played was, I think, called Aperture Tag or something like that. No, I don't think that's the name of it. But yeah, let's not wait any longer and let's start a new game. Alright. So are we looking at a loading screen? Yes. So Lab 1 destroyed. Lab 1 undestroyed.
Hello, test subject.
4509.
You have been in stasis for
16
days and
4
decades.
They're probably intentionally blurring the edges here so you can't see all the other humans slash potential clones.
Long-term human storage vault. You have been selected to take part in a very special testing course.
I'm not pressing any buttons here to control the camera. But I can, apparently, but... So, this is, I assume, taking
Federal
place
regulations require us to inform
after the
you that
events
the testing ahead may result in slight cases of
second game.
sore throat, or
So that person
blurry
just got
vision,
sucked up
or
in the tube.
death.
if you experience any of the aforementioned side effects, please do not hesitate to write them down in your test report.
So, this was like really the only promise of a potential sequel.
This vacuum tube will
to
take you to
Portal
your testing
2.
area. You will be further instructed there.
Was that at the end of the co-op section
Good
of
luck.
Portal 2, if you played that, you would have unlocked a vault to where a bunch of humans were. Now I have a mouse cursor in the middle of the loading screen, even though I was playing with the controller and it's not going away. Let me move the mouse, but very often that tends to center back when you're playing with the controller. Boy, does that load screen just not work for the first transition, even in the game. All kinds of companion cubes and all kinds of tubes. Very much references to Portal 2. I am controlling the camera, which I just have to assume that the game wants that.
Welcome to the Enrichment Center. These automated messages will guide you through your test today. The door in front of you is programmed to open in approximately
20
years. This test can be solved in 2 different ways. Option 1, wait patiently. Option 2, time travel to the future.
So they're jumping
The
into it
choice is
very
yours.
quickly.
However, if you prefer time travel, the Enrichment Center will provide you the means to pursue that option. The time portal will open and testing will begin in 3, 2, 1.
So noticeably, there was kind of a squishy sound when I landed. Yeah.
Sensors indicate that you have not yet stepped through
So-
the time portal.
I wonder if we have any of the fall boots on, or if we can
You have
fall
still
to our
not
death.
traveled through time. Please enter the time portal.
What's interesting here, too, is that the
To help you decide,
time
the
travel
Enrichment Center
portal
is going to provide you with 2 new options. Option 1. Step through the time portal.
This is a new
Option
voice
2.
actor, but
Die
not terrible.
from thirst. The choice is yours.
Or a new fake voice, fake computerized voice. It's seemingly a case that it mirrors at what is in the room, at least in this instance. So the left side of this mirror is the left side of that room, and the right side on the mirror is the right side of that room. Where you would have thought potentially that it wouldn't mirror, or that it potentially would still have you go forward but also through time, so you'd be on the other side of the wall, which I don't think they really want that.
Welcome to the future. Time traveling through portals will be an essential part of this testing course. In order to help you distinguish between the present and the future, this part of the Enrichment Center has been left untouched for the last
20.
years.
20 years,
You
really?
may see some signs of decay. Don't worry, the Enrichment Center is designed to withstand centuries without proper maintenance.
Almost
Find a
certainly
way
it's
to
not been
exit the
20
chamber.
years. But apparently the AI is still somewhat working. The camera looks at you, even if it's not glowing with bright red eye. And now the door is locked on us. You know what? I don't feel like the sensitivity is quite right on this. Let's see. Well, I hate to start to adjust things here, but I guess we can always see how that works. Just seems a little sluggish in the movement of the character on the left stick, while not seeming that sluggish in the movement of the right stick, which really there shouldn't be any difference there. Yeah, and there's really not a controller option. Just reset everything back to normal. It might be an acceleration thing on the mouse, even though I am using the controller. Nope. Now the controller's not even working. Left and right sticks not working at all. Interesting that the controller still works when the controller was disabled. Alright, well, I guess I'll just have to live with it. Definitely doesn't feel very smooth. And if anything, that's one thing that the Orange Box really did accomplish for Valve as they made Portal 1 and Half-Life 2 or Half-Life 2 Episode 2, whatever was in the Orange Box, and Team Fortress, I believe, was the other game involved in it, is that they really took the steps towards supporting controllers when they'd been almost exclusively, I think actually exclusively, not even almost, they had been exclusively mouse and keyboard. So buttons.
Welcome back to the present. If you are ever unsure which timeline you're in, simply observe your environment. The present should always look a bit cleaner than the future.
But yeah, this definitely feels a little rough, to say the least, as a mod. Whereas the other mod that I played really didn't feel rough at all and felt just like you were playing another bit of Portal 2.
This Aperture Science test subject teleportation device will dematerialize your body and rematerialize it in the next chamber. This process is absolutely safe. Usually.
Interesting. So they're going with a different technology instead of using the elevators. I don't know why you would specifically do that. It's not even the same as what the robots used. And then we're back to the load screens. Yeah, it just feels like there's a real lack of optimization here that I'll have to get over for the potential to have a fun time with some new story. It's a shame that there wasn't more just official mods. Like, they certainly left themselves open for that. If Valve could just be like a regular company and make their employees produce games and finish games, then
these next chambers will involve cube and button-based testing with the perks of time travel.
You almost certainly could have had even interns, although I guess maybe you shouldn't have interns making products that you turn around and sell. That's unethical and illegal. But you could have any small group of employees make just a 4 or 5 hour experience that wasn't particularly that innovative or groundbreaking, but would just have 5 more portals and 5 more puzzles. Instead, they left it mostly to the community, and the community made some mods, but effectively, because Portal 2 establishes itself as this gigantic, groundbreaking game that is the sequel to a short, groundbreaking game, nobody really felt the ambition to make just 5 more puzzles in Portal 2 and put it up, as much as people felt the ambition to tell their own story with their own characters and have a full 5 hour experience at minimum. They painted the rules to the race effectively, and the rules were that Portal stands for big, long, at least mid-length games that are groundbreaking, and if you just wanted to make a few puzzles,
the cube placed in the present
and didn't have
will
a
appear
story
in the same position in the future.
Like, if you just wanted to make puzzles and not tell a story, you would be, I imagine, disheartened to do that. So I guess the idea with the time travel is that nobody else has been in these puzzles in the time between. So if I was to say, pick up this
future version of the cube
it
can
doesn't
be
tell
moved
me
freely
how
without
to pick
affecting its
things.
counterpart in the present. It will stay wherever you leave it, as long as the present cube's destiny is not altered in any way. These material emancipation grills will vaporize any unauthorized equipment that passes through them, including cubes.
which then respawns it where it was originally. Or did it drop it? Nope, it dropped a new one. Okay.
Moving a cube in the present will automatically update the location of the same cube in the future.
So there is definitely a different course of events based on the time you're in. Even the original Portal game, it's important to point out that when you were going through a portal, you were going to a different reality of the world that was just a copy of the world, effectively. And one of the things they did is if you saw a portal and looked through another portal and it became an infinity mirror reflecting portals upon portals, they would reduce the amount of physics that were actually happening based on when the portal was created. So the 15th portal was actually using a lot less CPU power than the first portal, but it was still a heavy CPU intensive process to have two instances of the same puzzle running, particularly on consoles.
Good. Please continue to the next chamber.
Even now, it's probably fairly intensive, and that's why we never saw a real breakout of the idea of being in relatively small areas. You could never have a big open world game with portals as much as you would like that, and that's just like another problem certainly with the ending of Portal 3. If you were going to follow Chell further down the storyline, is that you really couldn't have her running around an entire city that has been destroyed and using portals. The technology is just not there even now to do that. And almost certainly you would have Chell dragged back to Aperture Labs or dragged to a different laboratory, maybe Black Mesa, and still playing most of the experience in smaller areas. Even the other Portal, the other Half-Life universe games tend to stay in medium-sized areas at biggest. Is this one of the projection things?
Understanding the concept of cause and effect will be vital to solving the
was
upcoming
an elevator.
tests.
I thought that was going to fling me up.
Simply put,
in the air.
Everything you do in the present has an impact on the future, but not the other way around.
I'm a little shocked that they didn't have that happen. Maybe they will later, where you stand on something that looks like an elevator and then it shoots you high up into the air. Yeah, there is also potentially a way in which you could have made a spin-off on the Portal series that was more of a precision platformer / frustration platformer is what I call them, where there are just like a lot of places where spikes would show up, or a lot of things that would fling you into the air and smash your head on the ceiling, or pools of acid to fall into. Whereas Portal 1 did have pools of acid, and Portal 2 kind of forgot about them and got rid of them. Although I think canonically and storyline wise, the pools of acid had mostly been drained by the end of Portal 1 anyways. I don't know if I really need a cursor even to avoid motion blur if all I'm going to do is some fairly basic puzzling here and not a lot of platforming. This may very well be a game that's much closer to Portal 1 in its experience than Portal 2. I'm a little confused here. We started this portal, I guess, in the future. We started this puzzle in the future. That's an interesting idea, I suppose, that lets you that lets you then create a toggle there where you're sometimes going to be in the future, sometimes going to be in the past, and you're just going to be constantly reminded of that. Right, so I moved the only cube in the present, and well, I can stand on platforms, sure. I don't have the portal gun yet, so So I guess the question is, can we just take this with us? Yes.
Good thinking. While it is impossible to bring a present cube to the future, this clever trick allows you to have two versions of the same cube in one timeline. This will prove to be very useful in future chambers.
Which I guess that inherently means there's no way I could have gotten through the door in the past, in the future. I can only go through the door in the present. Or, I don't know. I'm getting it confused already. Feels like there's going to be a turret here at some point. The extra walking through the hallways here, I assume, are because we are doing a... we are avoiding load screens. Alright, well... these puzzles definitely could get longer, but they may not, and so this may very well be a shorter game. What can happen here is the puzzles could get longer, and then puzzle 4, 5, 6, 4 through 12 will become 30 minutes to an hour each, or there are a lot more puzzles than just 12. Even in the first game, I think puzzle 12 or whatever was labeled as chapter 12 became a very long experience, nowhere as long as Portal 2. Arguably, maybe Portal 2 should have been split in half, and if it had been split in half right around the chapter called The Fall, where you were falling potentially to your death, that would have been a decent point for them to say, alright, Portal 2 ends like this and sets up directly for Portal 3, and surprise, even though we're Valve and we never make games that have 3 in the name, we already have this game ready to go and ready to advertise, and we already have a release date. Because the game length itself of Portal 2 is long enough to accommodate that, whereas most games don't ever have that opportunity. Valve also is in a unique position where they have a pile of money, so they could potentially guarantee a game comes out even if the first or the sequel didn't sell that well. Would it have potentially changed much? Maybe it would have changed some ways of thinking or attitudes inside the minds of the higher ups at Valve. So if they had just rushed through a Portal 3, which was really just the second part of Portal 2, then they could have probably then gone on board to make a Portal 4. People still waiting for Half-Life 3 would still be upset, certainly, but those people are going to be upset no matter what. They are already irate. There's no winning them over on that point, so it is better just to try to move on with your life and make something that starts with a 3. We've had a bit of a rough start here, and I'm definitely trying to make shorter episodes, so we're going to stop here at about 30 minutes, but the controls and the settings, a little rough to say the least. So far we haven't seen anything amazingly crazy with time travel, and arguably if a Portal 3 was going to be made, you would want to see time travel used as a concept again, but probably done a lot better. Particularly also if you played around with time travel to a high enough level, you could break the Portal universe outside of the Half-Life universe and make it an alternate dimension, which arguably it might already be that for a couple of reasons. But you could set it in stone that Chell goes back in time and helps GLaDOS take over the world, and then there's an entire world of Aperture Science laboratories. And I don't really hate the idea of playing as different characters that are just doomed to eventually be killed by GLaDOS. That would be fairly interesting too. Alright, well, we'll leave it at that. So far, we're a little rough start, but I think we'll make it to the end of the game at least. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a gift card. There's also, let's see, I guess nothing else. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.